Hello, everybody. Welcome. If you can stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty. Welcome. Kathy, can you do a roll call, please?
You got it. Sabin. Bartleson. Here. Loebs.
Here.
Bergbauer.
Here.
Galogly.
Here.
Schreiber.
Here.
Karras.
Here.
Kostecki. Here. We have a quorum.
All right. I see our police chaplain, Ernest Jones, is here to open us in a prayer. Amen. Thank you, Ernest. Appreciate that. Liaison reports. Anybody got anything good?
We do have, don't forget, Old Canal Days is coming June 10th through the 12th. The car shows will be back starting Monday, June 6th through August 29th. They're going to have Fridays back in the park. The Lockport Township High School Foundation wants to have a first-time event, Taste of Lockport, on September 24th at Central Square. So Kamikopoulos will be back in July 23rd with Summer Art Series. So lots to be thankful for, and a lot of good events this summer that will be coming our way.
All right, super fun.
For Public Works, I just wanted to wish Dan Hansen good luck. He has decided to leave Lockport. He is our project engineer. He has one more week. He lives in Morris and is taking a job about 5 minutes away from home, so.
Yeah, it's hard to.
We will
Grundy
miss
County.
him.
That commute.
Grundy County, yeah.
Wish him luck.
Yes.
All right, very good. Nobody else? I actually got something. So the Women's Club tonight, they're doing their Spooky Night Out fundraiser at Nick and Ivy's, so you can get, I think, cheaper tickets tonight or something. So I made this picture for them. So if anybody who gets there after me, if you buy a ticket, the first person there, I'll give you this cool picture.
Sweet.
But yeah, that's at Nick and Ivy's after from 6 to 10 tonight. So, but all right. So this is fun. I always like the high school kids when they come in here, and normally it's always like sports. And I'm not a sports guy, but I still appreciate it, and we love the opportunity to honor those kids. But this is my wheelhouse, man. Right? The architecture. Come on up to the podium, please, you architectural students and your medals. So, your name is? Chloe, yeah. Robert.
Below.
How do you say it?
Below.
Bilal. Well, welcome so much, you guys. I'm really excited about this. Do you have a teacher or an instructor that's here too?
Yeah. It's brown.
Come on down. So, I want to hear the story. Tell me about it. Like, what did you guys all have to do to win your medals, and how did it all play out? And come on over to the microphones. Everybody can hear. You're going to be the speaker, Chloe? Yes, you went forward. You took the step.
What we did was we had to modify this house and fit the requirements. Like we had to make it, put a bedroom upstairs, put a closet, a lot of storage room. It was like a requested office and then a bedroom. We had to put all of that on the second floor of the house, but we had to fit the requirement. And what we did was we like researched about the costs, how much everything would play into it, and then we did a 1.5 story, and then we did two stories that didn't end up working, so we went with the 1.5 story.
So how does it work? Do you guys, is it like a time thing, or is this something you work on over the course of a couple months? Like, how does that, it's a couple months kind of project? Okay, good. So is it like a remodel? They give you this house, and it's like you guys have to convert it and do all these things to it?
Yeah.
Because my daughter, my 6th grade daughter, she keeps trying to convince me to put a bathroom in her bedroom. I'm like, yeah, it's not gonna happen. I was like, "Ah." I changed the toilet seat the other day, and she's like, "Can I keep the old one?" I'm like, "For what? For the bathroom that's gonna go in." No, you can't do. So I really appreciate what you guys did. So how does it? So did all these, your designs get sent to a judges somewhere, and then they reviewed it? But I'll let your teacher come on up. What was your name? Jeff. Jeff, tell us, like, how did the judging go down?
Yeah, so they start out at a regional level. Our regional is at Joliet Junior College. And then they take the top places from the regionals and they go to state. State was at ISU. So this problem they got, and sometimes it's a new build, sometimes it's a addition. This was an addition to a 1-story house in Arlington, Virginia, which brought a new challenge because none of us have ever lived there.
Yeah, you don't know our codes.
Well, we found out that you think real estate is expensive here. So in any case, so they take their plans and they have to build a model and a presentation, and they present to judges at the state level. So usually those judges are usually an architecture instructor from ISU, usually a local architect from the Bloomington Normal area, sometimes a contractor, that type of thing. So this year it was an architecture teacher and an architectural student were the judges. And so they present, they have a 10-minute presentation, 5-minute question and answer, and all the groups go in and present, and then they figure out who did the best.
Well, that's fantastic. That's great. Now, you've got 2 medals. What's going on?
Well, I did this last year, too.
Ah, okay. Man, like a repeat.
He's a 2-time
This is
state
awesome.
champion.
Fantastic. Well, thank you guys for coming out and letting us do this. So we've got our certificates for you. Well, there's yours. And then Chloe. And then I think we got Robert here. And then the best part is you get the coveted Lockport hat, right? Yes, that's the cool part. Nobody wants a certificate. What the heck? So, why don't we get a picture? And then just really happy to have you guys out. So. All good? Very good. Bravo, everybody. Thanks for coming out. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Hey, before you guys leave, because usually everybody walks out when they're done getting their hats, which I understand. But before you sneak out, Lance, when is the Stantec open house?
It is May 26th at 7 p.m.
All right, May 26th, 7 p.m. If you're up on current events, the city had purchased the 180 acres of the old Chevron property. And, we've been working with, we had some community meetings about like what to do with it, what the designs can look like, how a business park can be laid out. It's very interesting, and I think it's totally in your wheelhouse. And I would love to have some young people there and their input too. So I think it'd be a great meeting. It's an open public meeting. Look for it. I think you'd really enjoy it. So, all right, maybe I'll see you again there. All right, my friends. So we will roll into our regular meeting now. And again, welcome to stay, but if you got to go, you got to go. AT1, we're looking for an amendment to Chapter 91 of the city's codes to update liability coverage for sidewalks and the streets, public grounds. So why don't you lay this on us, Sonny?
Yes. Mayor, members of the City Council, this amendment addresses a couple of housekeeping measures, but primarily it is to address the removal of obstruction from the streets and sidewalks. We addressed that, I believe, 3 or 4 months ago when a resident came in kind of complaining about getting ticket for having their portable basketball hoop on the city's side, street, and this addresses the mechanism, the process to get those obstruction removed. It requires that if someone is not actively using the obstruction, such as a basketball hoop, and they're not actively using it, and it's not removed, that allows the city to remove it. There's notice process. It will be, if someone has an identifying tag on that item, we will try to contact them to remove it. If they don't, then they can be removed by a Public Works director. And if they are removed, the owner of that personal property can request a hearing on, whether or not that was properly removed. So it addresses obstruction. We have Public Works trucks that are damaged because people just leave it on the street, and obviously the street is meant for vehicles and not necessarily, basketball hoop. And I think this is a fair way of addressing it. There's the other housekeeping changes. We do want to increase the coverage for sidewalk cafes to make sure the city is covered for any accident that may happen at the sidewalk cafe, and also kind of updates the fine amount. It was like $25 for having obstruction on the public right-of-way, and $100 would be more appropriate for this, to address this type of violation. So if there are any questions, I would be more than happy to entertain them. The actual minimum fine is $75. The $100 is like the cost of the city removing that item. They could claim that temporary basketball hoop and pay the $100 fee.
Sure. Yeah, of course, we had a pretty candid discussion with a resident who came out, and we talked a lot about it, but, I mean, where's everybody at? What are your thoughts, concerns? Good with moving forward the way we kind of spelled this out? Yes, okay. Very good. So are we okay with the consent agenda on it? All right.
Thank you.
All right, next thing is the grant through the Heritage Corridor and Convention Bureau. So before Lance gets into this, I want to say something. So, Route 66, the legendary route, starts in Chicago, goes, all the way out west. Once upon a time, Lockport was, a Route 66 community, because Lockport spread here, it was on the other side of the bridge, back in the 20s and the 30s and all that stuff. As Romaville grew over, we're no longer on the other side. Route 66 would be 53. So I'm like, man, I'm sorry, but we're a Route 66 community. So Ben and I had been working with one of the directors of the Illinois chapter of this, the Route 66, and we were petitioning them to get us back on that list. One, because I think it's cool, and two, there actually is, you're part of a lot of, statewide promotional, things that happen, so it's a good thing too. And they gave us good news. They're like, you know what, the rule is, as long as you can see it from Route 66, you can be a Route 66 community. And obviously, it's one of the coolest views of Lockport is when you're on 53. So we should be fine. Actually, we're going to have a meeting with them, I think, this coming week, or next week. But in any case, that said, there was kind of a fun opportunity, and I'll let Lance take it from here.
So the Heritage Corridor Convention and Visitors Bureau submitted a grant on behalf of a number of different communities for a series of different types of projects to celebrate as a part of their first 100 miles campaign. One of those items within that, they had already distributed about 10 of these sculptures around to different communities throughout the corridor, and one of the parts of the grant that you see on the screen was to get an additional 12 of these sculptures to be able to put them throughout the corridor. And it was brought up at our last board meeting, and the executive director asked if anybody would like to have one of these placed in their community. And of course, I jumped at the chance because I knew that we have discussed this in the past, just about different ways that we can drive traffic. One maybe little known story is that one of the Beatles did the Route 66 tour, showed up at the Gaylord building 5 or 6 years ago, and signed in. The lady at the desk had no clue who Paul McCartney was, nor his wife, and so they signed at the desk, and they were doing the Route 66 tour. So it's clearly something that we can leverage, something that we can take advantage of, and we would wholeheartedly support getting one of these sculptures in our community. We haven't identified a specific place for it yet, but we do want to reserve the opportunity to have it. We will own it. This year is the centennial for Route 66, or this year or next year is the centennial.
I think it's next
So it's tied to that as a part of that overall campaign, and there are tons of events going on next year to celebrate that, so we could be a great part of it.
I couldn't find that coloring book that you gave me in my,
Yeah,
yeah, it was driving me crazy. I got to find it for the meeting.
yeah.
Right. There was this coloring book
Yeah,
that
I
Sonny
gave you.
found,
Yep.
and it was all the cities from Route 66. The very first page is a picture of the Gaylord Building.
Right.
So it doesn't even start in Chicago, thank you. It starts here. So, yeah. All right.
Where did you say it was going to actually be placed at?
We haven't identified a specific spot yet, but more than likely, it could be at Lincoln Landing, it could be outside the State Museum, or at Central Square, one of those.
If we put it on JR's roof,
Yeah,
I think you'd be able to see it real nice.
It'll look great there, those things.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for taking advantage of that, Lance. It's good. All right. Next thing on the agenda.
Is that consent or action?
Do we need to do something for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to accept
approve
an
the
agreement.
resolution.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to accept
Yes.
the, that's right. All right. Are you guys good with the consent on that?
And then I'll be handling the public works items this evening. Brent's not feeling well.
Okay. What do you got, man? Lay it on.
All right, thank you. First item, PW1, is the amendment to Section 153-20060. This would be approving ordinance 22011 with the development code, specifically to update the improvement guarantee. The development guarantee is something that is based on an engineer's estimate of probable cost. It's provided by the developers, and then our engineering group concurs with it, and we set the number. What's different about Lockport's for many years compared to other communities is it includes both public and private improvements. So the public improvements certainly need to be guaranteed. It's when they're doing the sidewalks, the roads, the water main, anything from their project that would involve the public utilities or public access. The other half of our current code states that they should also provide a credit, a letter of credit for the private improvements. It's a little bit unusual. It's not unheard of, but it's unusual, and it's kept us in an uncompetitive situation. We've had several complaints with developers over time. Reluctantly they do it. It costs them a lot of money. An example is the Highlands. I remember meeting with Tim, and when they built all those apartments, according to our code, it was going to be millions of dollars to have to put up a bond for all the property. And we felt that working with them in the agreement that we ended up bringing to council to change was that we only needed a letter of credit of like $500,000 because it was only for the streets and the water mains. If the project didn't go through, we weren't going to build the apartments, right, as an example. So you're really guaranteeing things that don't need to be completed. It's all about the public improvements, and Brent and I have been tossing this around for a while, and we were talking about it at staff the other day, and we thought we'd bring it to your attention that there's really no effect to the city's obligations or securities. It's really about the private part, and we'd like to recommend that we just have them make sure that they do a guarantee for the public improvements, which should be fine, and so that would be approving ordinance 2211 to do a text amendment on our code, and it's literally in your packet, there's like one word that's redlined out, and that's the change we're looking to have.
Let me dig down a little deeper and clarify something. So I understand that, we still do bonds for the public right-of-ways and stuff like that. That always made sense. This bond wasn't to cover the entire project, like you made an example of like, oh, we weren't going to build the apartments. It doesn't cover a full project, like if it doesn't happen,
It does. It's if somebody builds a home, the probable cost for the entire project is being secured by a percentage of a letter of credit. What we're saying is,
Plus 10%.
just for those site improvements, I apologize, not the whole building, but things that they would do on the private property, which.
So it's just, that's my point. It's
Yeah.
site improvements. It's not the
It's not
building, it's
buildings.
not the
That's a good-
structure. It's just
Right.
that you guys are going to agree to run your water tap in and run it to there just to cover those costs, so.
If they went out of business midstream, we would have that letter of credit to finish those public utilities, but we're saying we don't need money to finish their land or do things that aren't required.
Okay,
If it's vacant land now, it can be vacant land later.
okay. Any thoughts, questions on that? Okay, and then if everybody's all right with that, then you guys going to do a consent on that one?
Sure. Thank you. Next item, PW2, is a Resolution 22045. This would be for 16th and Madison contract to do water main replacements and roadway reconstruction. It's the design engineering with Chamlin Associates with an amount not to exceed $347,500. This was a budgeted item in discussions back in 2022. We did budget a larger amount, so we're actually under budget on this, so that's good. We're just seeking approval to move forward with Chamlin. Chamlin is a firm that we've used for other things. We do like to move different projects to different firms that we use in engineering, so Chamlin is familiar with this, and Brent has their confidence, so happy to answer any questions about the project itself.
All right, any questions on that one?
It'll be constructed in 2023, but this is all the pre-work that would be required.
Okay,
I have a question on this one. Is this a full design? Will this include storm sewer as well?
Yes, this one is full reconstruction, curb, gutter, storm sewers, water mains, road replacement. There are areas near here that don't have that right now, and that's been a recent debate with staff and the mayor at some of our staff meetings, and it's something that I think we can talk about at the CIP and the strategic plan hopefully this summer. For example, communities south of Division don't have stormwater, and we do get stormwater complaints, but it could be millions of dollars to add curbs where there's currently not curbs. So that's definitely a decision for the council to deliberate on because it would impact our overall CIP. But this project specifically does not have that. Right now, there's going to be curbs and gutters and everything included. There are projects for anticipation in the future that the city would need to decide whether they're going to do full improvements with stormwater management or not. But this one does include it.
Will the strategic planning meeting will be adequate enough time to discuss that, or?
I think so, as a cursory. I mean, we'll have probably 6 or 8 topics that we want to focus on. The capital improvement program is a major part of that conversation, and certainly the debate on what neighborhoods, or the west side or the south side, that don't have curbs and gutter right now, what are the pros and cons of that, can be discussed.
Well, yeah, I know how
Yeah.
expensive things are, so yeah, we
Right,
we have
right.
to
I mean-
weigh the pros and cons, you're correct.
Sure. And we can always continue to deliberate after the strategic plan, and certainly debate them case by case as we go as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
all good? Any other questions on that? Are we good with consent on that? If you don't mind, I actually have one more question on PW1.
Oh, sure.
So I just want to wrap my head around something. So the bond that's taken out, is there, with that bond, is there currently leverage to push somebody into developing something that, I guess we've seen this many times. Developers come in, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. Well, for instance, the car wash, right? Hey, I'm coming in, I'm clearing all the trees, it's going to happen, and then they go away. And it's kind of like, come on, man, right? Is this not a bond that you could say, well, you're not getting your bond back as you haven't finished the project? There's not leverage to insist that they move forward on something.
It depends on when in the process they are, right? If they're putting out an overall bond for the entire site improvements, and there's public improvements part of that, we could use that bond money to complete it if it's connecting to the water mains or sidewalks or bike paths. Overall site improvements that are specific to just that user, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to finish the plan that they have, because it could change in the future.
But they're site improvements. I just want to clarify, because I just want to make sure I understood it right. It's not,
Yeah, we use the EOPC, or engineering specifically uses the EOPC to, it's basically the engineering firm that the consultant hires, puts together an engineer's estimate of probable cost. That includes all the site improvements, so you're 100% correct. It is the landscape, the pipes, the roads, the curbs, all of those different site improvements are all calculated in that. We use that total number amount, multiply it by a percentage. Usually it's 2% and 2%. The 2% goes to a review fee for all the documentation through all of our steps. So concept plan, preliminary development plan, final development plan. The second 2% goes towards the inspection fee. Once the project is under construction, then we use that 2%, specifically engineering uses that 2% to inspect the project as the construction continues. This is not something where there's leverage to push somebody to do a project. That's the fee piece. And then there is a letter of credit, which is what this particular item is about, that the owner puts up basically a letter of credit that the city can draw on if they don't complete some of the projects. So let's say they get into it, financing falls through, and they can't build the roadway that we know needs to be built regardless of whether it happens or not. We can pull on that letter of credit to construct those items on behalf of the city to improve something related to the city. And what this is specifically doing is it's taking that private component of the EOPC out of the calculation and only calculating it on the public improvements, because ultimately we don't have any interest in constructing the landscape around a non-existent building or putting turf in around a non-existent building.
Sure.
Or adding parking lots around a non-existent building. But we do have an interest in potentially extending a water main or completing a loop that would have otherwise been done had the contractor or had the owner continued with the project. So that's what we really.
But in this case,
use
and I'm
that
sorry
for.
if I'm being dense on it,
No.
but in this particular, let's go back to the car wash example. When they took all the trees down for the creek, and then their goal was to put a pipe and then cover it, right, and make it buildable. And then they went away after they cut all the trees down.
They didn't file and put up an LLC yet. They didn't.
Right.
Those are just preliminary things they did when they bought the property. So I know, I guess I understand now where you're.
Like, we would have been
looking
able to
for.
say with a bond like this, you know,
Yeah.
we're taking that, we're going to finish this,
Right.
now that you've.
The example, and I think the road is a good example, is a public improvement. When the developers built Prime Boulevard, out where Public Works is and Bow Dome, they went under, but we still held their line of credit for the public improvements. So I was able to call a bank and pull $500,000 to put the final asphalt coat on Prime Boulevard. We were able to do that because we had the credit for the public improvements.
Yes.
We also had credit for private improvements that we never spend because it's very unusual that we would want to complete something on a lot that could be changing on a sale 5 years later.
The car wash did not get to the point where they needed
they
to
never got
post
far
their
enough.
letter of credit.
Okay.
So there wasn't that mechanism there.
We also keep a
But if they did, and then they failed, we could have pulled the credit to finish the pipe and cover that up.
Well, there is no pipe on the car wash. We could have.
I thought I thought they were going to have to put a big thing where that creek bed was and cover it.
That's only because of their internal circulation. That was the only thing that required that.
Okay.
As it is right now, the creek is what the creek is.
Okay.
Now, could we have maybe pulled a little bit of it to plant some trees or restore some trees? We could have. Our guess, as has come true, is that somebody else would take those plans and go ahead and start to build the project. And that's what the case that will be on your agenda for the first meeting in June is about, is another operator has basically bought those plans and that site to go ahead and build the car wash.
Okay. Thank you. Would you mind if I just asked for an action item, just because I just want to think through it just a bit more, but are you guys okay with an action item? I'm probably fine with it, but I just don't want to. All right, thank you. So we'll do that as an action. I'm sorry, PW2.
I think it was PW1.
Oh, PW1, so sorry,
Yeah.
PW1.
PW2, I believe, went to consent.
I know you guys are all like, dang, it was going to be a full consent agenda, but I had to blow it up, sorry. All right, thank you. Any new business? Anybody got anything going on?
Do you want to talk about Vegas now or before when you come back?
Oh, yeah, so the ICSC, I mean, we haven't gone for like, forever, as, a full contingent, which they're really interesting conferences, right? Just all the developers and, all kinds of, retail and stuff. It's taken us a long time. I remember the first time we went, we had a booth at the ICSC, right? And we kind of learned like, okay, we really don't need a booth. So, we've kind of taken different approaches and learned our ways to how to make them the most effective. I know Lance has a bunch of appointments set up with different folks that you could probably touch on that if you want to talk about it.
Sure. The good news is that ICSC listed everybody's email addresses this time, so it offered us a great opportunity to download people's email addresses for every company that's going to be there. So I grabbed about 65 of those that are kind of some of the targets that we have. There are folks like lenders and banks that are there also that we don't really have an interest in, but some of the retailers and restaurants we certainly do. So I sent out 65 emails to all of those different folks to request meetings. We've got 12 back that we're going to have meetings with on Monday and Tuesday, primarily Monday next week. And then I've had follow-on conversations with about 10 or 12 other ones who are interested in the community and either not attending, the specific local broker is not attending, or they want to have a phone call after the conference to be able to catch up on some of these. So I had a phone call with Cooper's Hawk a couple of weeks ago. That doesn't mean that Cooper's Hawk is going to come or is interested. I just want to make sure that's clear. But that's the kind of thing that allows us to get into people's radar. So we've had a number of those phone calls. A lot of them have been very positive. We've set up some meetings actually back here in Lockport once we come back from some of their local brokers. The one thing that I have learned very clearly is you have to get to the right person, because a lot of these national companies have brokers that are scattered throughout the country. Some of them are in-house. They are representing the corporate structure as it is. Others are franchisees that have large pools of franchises, but they may not cover the Northern Illinois market. So many of the people graciously have connected me with the specific brokers who cover Northern Illinois. So I've been able to reach out and connect with all those folks. And that helps me because then they're in my contacts database and I can continue to reach out to them. So we're looking forward to a really good conference. Not only do we have the meetings, but there's always informal discussions that happen when we go up to specific booths for different retailers. So feeling positive about it.
No, it's nice when you get to actually be face-to-face with people and get them excited and just talk about some of the success stories. It's like, and we have them now, because I remember like with Gary Janko in the hotel, it was like pulling teeth to get him to build that thing. He's like, oh, I don't know, man, I don't know. But when he finally did, I kept telling him, Gary, it's going to work. And he's like, it's the best performing hotel they have in the Midwest. So those are the kind of things that, tell people. It's like, look, and same thing with Panera Bread and other, stuff. It's like, these are good to get in front of people and share the stories that it's like, it actually is a very good place to develop. So
Some of it's good relationship building too, where we're meeting with people that may have businesses in the area and or are currently talking to us, but it's a format and opportunity to see how they're doing with their project and if they're going to come or not. So.
yeah, it makes them feel welcome, and so, all good. Good luck. Yeah, I don't.
All right.
All right. Let's see, it'd be me, Lance, Ben, you going? Right, Ben's be there. Okay. All right, anybody got anything else? All right, then we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, Renee and Joanne, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll give Kathy a couple minutes to get organized.
There was someone.
Call then.
Here?
Here.
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 All right, me friends, looking for a motion to have a consent agenda. So moved.
Second.
Renee and Larry, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so tonight's consent agenda is looking for approval on committee of the whole meeting minutes from May 4th, the city council meeting minutes from May 4th, the resolution approving the recapture agreement with JP McMahon. We've got the payroll period ending May 1st, and there's the purchase and installation of the generators over at the wastewater treatment plant. So looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, sounds like Mark and Renee. Okay.
Any questions about the McMahon one? I sent out an email trying to explain a few other things, but we're still looking. Okay.
Then we'll do a roll call, please.
You got it. Saban.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
Lowe's.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Maloney. Yes. Schreiber.
Yes.
Karas.
Yes.
Kostecki.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All righty. First thing under CA1 is we're looking for the appointment of John Weiss for a one-year term to the Police Board Commissioners. So looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we got JR and Karen. Any questions, concerns? And we'll do a roll call, please.
You got it. Saban.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
Lowe's.
Present.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Schreiber.
No.
Karas.
Yes.
Kostecki.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All righty. And CA2 is the appointment of Pete Colorelli to the same position for a three-year term. Just by the way, we'll stagger it, so we'll have 1, 2, and 3. Motion by JR.
Second.
Second by Renee. Any questions, concerns? I'll do a roll call, please.
You got it. Saban.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
Lowe's.
Present.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Schreiber.
No.
Karas.
Yes.
And Kostecki.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All righty. Very good. And then, bills. Looking for a motion to approve our bills.
Make a motion.
Second.
We got Larry and Mark. Any questions on those? Everybody likes to pay their bills, right? Can we have a roll call on that, please?
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
Lowe's.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Maloney.
I abstain. The city of Lockport is paying my employer for water supplies.
Schreiber.
Yes.
Karas.
Yes.
Kostecki.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, and then and the last thing on here, which is not a small thing, it's a big thing, is CED. This is the concept plan for the future modifications, which is Resolution 2206 for the Rose Center. Looking for a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
All right, Mark and JR. All right, want to give some updates there? Lance, is you?
Yeah, I think the primary update to the effort is going to come under the annexation agreement, but just in general broad strokes, what we have agreed to with the applicant in response to a number of the comments that came up at the last meeting related to just concerns about whether or not they would move forward with the QSR, the quick service restaurant, or not if the automobile-based dealership went or not dealership, quick lube or oil change or car-based facility went forward first, is that they would commit to building the remainder of the access aisle, basically the parking aisle that would run north-south from the Lot 2, which is that southern lot just north of Murphy's, all the way to the Culver's connection to create that cross connection between them. And then the alternative scenario is if the QSR develops first, then that developer or owner would be responsible for only developing the Lot 1A. So it allows kind of some assurances that if it's only the oil change or the auto related use, then they would need to construct additional infrastructure than what they would need if the preferred use that goes first, the quick service restaurant, chooses to go first.
Okay.
That's probably very confusing, but yes. So if Lot 2 goes under construction first and the QSR to the north does not go under construction, the applicant is required to build the parking lot or the drive aisle that connects to Culver's. If
Here,
the-
maybe it'll make more sense like this. If this is, here's Murphy's Gas, and then the Jiffy Lube goes here, right? So then there's a road, instead of just ending it here, and then here's where Culver's is, there's a dead end. Is like, in order to see this quick serve that they're thinking is a possibility, is like, just go ahead and build the road all the way through at this time.
So we can get.
Yeah, and I think my thoughts on it were that I know Diane seems very positive that this QSR is on the table, but, you know, my experience has been, it may be, but man, a franchise suddenly gets news from corporate, says, we're done, right? I had this with Buffalo Wild Wings once. They were like, hey, man, you get that hotel built, we're going to build Buffalo Wild Wings on Outlot. It took Gary a lot of convincing to build the hotel. 9-10 months go by. Buffalo Wild Wings, who was expanding, suddenly gets to a point where it's like, we're not expanding anymore. Had nothing really to do with us. It's just a corporate thing. And so I feel if the road is there, you know, the opportunity to strike while the iron is hot, if another QSR, if this particular one doesn't come through, but perhaps another one comes, it's like, there's not a whole road that needs to be built, and then we don't have to hear like, oh, asphalt prices went up. It's like, just get it done, get it prepared, and, you know, with our having to open up the annexation agreement to allow the Jiffy Lube, it's just a little bit of leverage that I think is reasonable for us to ask. So, does that make sense, Christina?
Yes, I understand.
Okay. So, tell me the laydown of this. This isn't like approving, this is the concept, but we do an annexation agreement?
This is a concept
Also-
plan that has a resolution tied to it.
Okay.
So this is a separate approval than what Sunny will present next.
For the public
So
hearing.
this is specifically Resolution 22046.
Okay, got it. All right, so, any other questions? We're going to do a roll call on this then? All right, a roll call, please.
Okay, Saban,
Yes.
Bartleson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Erdbauer,
Yes.
Galogly.
Yes.
Schreiber,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
and Kostecki.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. And next we get our public hearing. Did I get my little script?
No, I
Sunny?
didn't, but I can, if I may, state that.
By all means.
Statement. So this is a proposed amendment to the annexation agreement of Rose Lockport Center. Illinois state law requires that any time that there is a annexation or an annexation amendment to the annexation agreement, it requires a public hearing. And what was required was a notice to be published in the paper of general circulation, which is a Joliet Herald paper, and that notice was published on May 3rd, 2022, giving the 15-day notice for this public hearing. And after the motion and second is made to open the public hearing, if there are any members of the public body who wants to address the city council regarding the proposed amendment, they can do so, and then there would be, the public hearing would be closed, and the city council members will deliberate, and includes the mayor voting on the proposed amendment because it requires a supermajority. So the proposed amendment as outlined by Lance is what is before you, and at this time I would request a motion and a second to open up the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
All right, we got Mark and JR. All right, so public hearing's open.
And then I will do the presentation. This was presented to the Committee of the Whole last time regarding the purpose of the amendment, First Amendment to the annexation agreement of the Rose Lockport Center that's located west of Farrell Road and 500 feet south of 159th Street. The primary purpose is to amend the original annexation to allow an automobile use, in this case, a proposed oil lube change business to be located in Lot 2, and that is what is in the proposed amendment. As Lance has indicated, there is an addition, paragraph 5, to the proposed annexation agreement that outlines how the access road is to be, completed. If there is development on Lot 2, then the access road needs to be connected to culverts north of the site. If there is a quick service restaurant that opens up in Lot 1A, prior to that, they need to provide access to Farrow Road. And that's the changes from the last committee of the whole. The amendment is not in effect until the conditions are met, that the concept plan has to be approved, which the city council has done, that the final plan must be submitted within 1 year of today's date, and that construction must start in one of those lots within 1 year after the final plan is approved. So the site can't just sit there, go undeveloped. They have to comply with that schedule, otherwise the amendment is not in effect. So if there's any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
All good? All right.
And I believe there's no members of the public who wants to come in,
Unless
make a comment.
Bill or Bob just want to shoot the breeze, but I think, yeah. All good? All right. Okay. Well, then we can, a motion to close our public hearing.
Second.
Motion to Mark and JR. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay. What do you need from us next?
Make a
Anything?
motion to approve ordinance resolution number 22047 is needed.
I make that motion.
All right. All right. Then we get a motion on the floor for its approval, so we'll do a roll call.
You got it. Saban.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
Logue.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Gologly.
Yes.
Schreiber.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
And Kostecki.
Yes.
Motion passed.
and
And
the-
Mayor.
I will try that present on for size. Yes. All right, me friends. Anything else? That's everything for tonight, eh? Okay, then we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we got Larry and Renee, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I had Renee.
Thank you. See you at ICSC.
Yes, look at us.